Can you please play d4 for once? Sure, let's play d4. We haven't done this in the speedrun, but I'll play d4. I'm not playing the London. That's the one caveat. I'm going to play c4. Okay, so dc. Okay, so this is the Queen's Gambit accepted. Now, there is a myth that a lot of people have that the Queen's Gambit accepted is bad for black. It's not bad for black. It's actually one of the main weapons against 1t4. It's considered one of the most solid and reputable lines. And white's got essentially two approaches to the Queen's Gambit accepted. The first is to put the pawn on e3. And I will explain the pros and cons of that after the game. The second is what we're going to play right now. This is considered the sort of the most ambitious line. Not necessarily the best line, but the most ambitious. And that's to play e4. Black meets it with e5. That's one of the main continuations. And here you just have to know theory. So here you have to know that the move is knight f3, which is not the easiest move to make if you don't know the theory. Now you can probably understand why de is bad, because it allows the queen trade, it gets the king out in the open. That's not the way we want to play this. Now, which pawn do we take? Well, we didn't give up the d4 pawn only to recapture it and reopen the standoff between the queens. Knight takes d4 is very awkward. I'll explain all of the theoretical things after the game, folks. So save your questions on theory. I don't have the time to talk about it in depth right now. Okay, now bishop takes c4. So this is we've turned this again into a gambit. We've sacrificed the pawn. But if black doesn't know exactly what to do, black gets in a lot of trouble. So Valeri already making a mistake with bishop g4. And this is a mistake for several reasons, I think. Queen b3 is the obvious move, hitting both f7 and b7. What else exists? We also have a tactic here that you guys at this point should be incredibly attuned to, because we've had it so many times. Bishop takes f7, king f7, and then not knight g5, right? Not knight g5 there, because of queen takes g5. I've explained that trick before in a speedrun. But knight e5, because the knight there cannot be captured. Not or knight e5, knight e5. So queen b3 looks amazing. Bishop takes f7 looks amazing. I actually have a hard time deciding here between these two moves. I feel like queen b3 might lead to a quick checkmate, though. I can't decide. Let me think. Both options are so good that it's hard to decide. I feel like queen b3 is actually more promising because it threatens f7. I just don't see a good defense to this move. I feel like this is even more ambitious than bishop takes f7 check. Yeah, bishop f7 is a fun move to play, but okay, we've played it a million times before. Just making a move because it's a temporary sacrifice isn't a good reason to play it. This, I feel like, is likelier to lead to a quick knockout if black is not super accurate. Maybe bishop f7 was better. Who knows? I'm hoping that he plays bishop h5, which would be a really instructive mistake. There's a hidden trap here. Bishop h5 would be an attempt to defend the f7 pawn, while keeping the queen and the rook connected on the 8th rank. So after bishop h5, we don't want to take on b7, because then black's knight comes out to d7, and that's why keeping the queen on d8 is a good idea. What should we do after bishop h5? Yeah, Vamtan got it. Well, queen b4 is a notation error. Queen b5 check. LPDO. Anytime the king's in the center, I've mentioned this many times, this diagonal in particular, a4, e8, should be at the top of your mind. Anytime there's an undefended piece like that, you can exploit it. Bishop b6. So we actually will almost transpose into bishop takes f7. Now, what should we do? Well, first order of business, obviously, we should take the bishop. And now we should decide which pawn to take. And I'll put it this way. Both queen takes b7 and queen takes c6 are good. I'm not sure off the top of my head which is better. So queen takes c6 is more forcing. So let's calculate. Queen takes c6 check. So if black blocks with the bishop or the knight, we have an incredibly powerful move there. Who can tell me what it is? So let's calculate. Queen takes c6 check, bishop e7. We have a move that looks like a knockout. No, not bishop g5. Bishop g5 doesn't actually attack anything on e7 because the e7 square is the most well-defended. Knight e5. Whoa, 50 subs, my Xenia. Oh my God. Oh my God, the move is knight e5, so distracting. And what about queen e7? Which is probably, no, bishop e7. I mean, just look at this. Thank you, Xenia, for the subs. 95. How do I see this move? Well, you just got to spot the tandem of the queen and the knight, right? You have to be aware of what the queen and the knight are capable of. And queen f7 is now a massive threat. Knight h6, just play bishop takes h6, and the game is over. And that's also very important detail. The fact that we can take any piece that appears on h6. Stop distracting me, Xenia. Thanks for the 50. You're insane. Okay, let's not take our foot off the gas pedal. What should we do now? Well, now it's obvious. Bishop takes g7, yeah. We should just take the free pawn. Yeah, bishop takes g7 simply. And it's, I mean, we're just taking everything here. Yeah, it's all pretty easy. $10 donation from Forensic Life Coach. Probably about $3,000 for all the YouTube content. And here's a down payment. Thank you. Down payment are accepted. Save your $3,000 for a real down payment, given the real estate market right now. Okay, what should we do now? Well, we've got a choice, a basic choice between taking the queen and then taking the rook and being up a rook. But if we want to try to win faster, we can also give a check on c8 and potentially take on b7. I like the ambitious approach. I feel like the endgame is going to take us a while to win. So why don't we give a nice little check on c8? I mean, okay, bishop d8. Now we actually have a choice of which rook we want to capture. We can take f8 or we can take b7 and trap the other rook in the corner. The funny thing is, queen takes b7 might be actually, no, it isn't less accurate. I mean, I don't even know what to do. We have let's just take this rook. Let's take this rook, and then if queen takes e5, we'll play queen takes b7. Right, because this queen takes b7 isn't really going anywhere, right? But the rook on f8 could have moved to g8. That's how I decided which to take. Now we play queen takes b7. Notice that it also stops queen b4 check. Not that would be dangerous. We could always cover with a knight. But now we're winning the second rook. Just brutalizing black here. It's only been 14 moves, if you can believe that. Okay. Queen c1 check is a threat, right? Not automatically grabbing the rook. Now, is queen c1 winning for black? Is that mate? No. Even if you were to blunder queen c1, you would still be winning after king e2, but why allow it? Now, you might start panicking and say, well, the knight's also hanging. That's not good. But understand the bigger picture here, right? I like to refer to these kinds of moments as sensing the bigger picture. What do I mean by that? Well, we're already up a rook. We're about to win another one. Is our priority to contort ourselves to save the knight, or to make sure that our king is safe so that we never have to worry about any counterplay again? Yeah, knight d3 is possible, but the sort of Russian school of chess move is to just castle kingside. Yeah, knight d3 in this particular instance is fine, but knight d3, there's actually queen c6. So knight d3 is worse than castling. Knight d3, queen c6 saves the rook. Of course, completely winning, but the classy move here is to castle. Does that make sense? Queen takes c5, queen takes a8. Now queen c6 is impossible because the knight covers that square, and we win. So when you're up like a ton of material and you're trying to convert, try to come up with what your top priorities are. Here, it's clear that our priority is to get our king to safety, and the rest is going to be easy. The rest is going to be very easy. Our second priority is to complete our development. We're not going to win this game unless we actually get our rooks into the game, and we're not going to get our rooks into the game unless we get our knight out. So let's just get our knight out. He's going to play bishop c7, I can guarantee you. Or resign. Okay. Again, not falling asleep on the threats. What's the best way to defend against that mate threat? What move has the most oomph? No. Knight f3 is fine, but somehow I like f4. I don't know, push your pawns, right? Steamroll black with these pawns. e5, f5. We're going to use these pawns to win quickly. Now, you might say, well, how do I know that it's okay to weaken the king? But black has no pieces left. Again, just like you can take your clothes off once in a while if you live alone. It's like black's king can take its clothes off, and there's no black pieces to punish him. Just d5. Okay, that was slightly over the top, but see, now you're not going to forget. Now you're not going to forget the concept that I want to illustrate. I like chat pretending like y'all put your pants on within 5 minutes of waking up in COVID times. Okay, so now let's get this knight into the center with knight e4. That comment was definitely directed at Brandon. Okay, I feel like I've backed myself into a corner here. So let's kindly gracefully exit this topic. Am I wearing pants right now? No, I never wear pants while streaming, clearly. You guys know I do. I mean, I do get up occasionally while I'm streaming. Okay, we're threatening knight f6 check. I'm not even commenting on this just because everything is easy. Rook a e1, knight f6, f5. Choose your win. Let's go knight f6 check. King e7, knight d5 is a fork. King f8. Now, I know it may sound like that this is a moot point, and it is, but I want to give you a sense of like how I convert these positions in the most effective possible way. And the move that I like here is actually queen back to d5. Centralize the queen, yeah. Just get the queen into the center. Now you're threatening a check on g8 and then a fork on d5. Probably black is going to go d2 here, if I had to guess. Yeah, queen a7 is fine. Knight d7 is fine. But this wins the queen. Everything is winning. So any question of the forum, why not this or why not that? Probably the answer is that it's perfectly good enough. Oh, queen e8 was mate in 1, yeah. Okay, but if you have mate in 1, win the queen. It's like the old joke. Look for better. If you have mate in 1, look for better. Thank you to Stephen Gray for the 5. Okay, well, that was a pretty one-sided game, obviously. But the point that I want to make early as we start to look at it is that, thank you, Jay Nooms. Thank you, everybody, for the subs. The point that I want to make here is that look how easy this game was just because we knew, like, 2 moves of theory. That's why when you hit, like, 1800, if you're a London player or you play sidelines, you should consider at least attempting to learn the main lines. I feel like there's been this trend in the last few years where, pardon my French, but everybody shits on main lines. You know, main lines are dumb. They're not worth studying. There's a reason they're the main lines to begin with. And the reason is that if your opponent doesn't know them, you can actually basically just win the game out of the opening consistently. So it's worth taking a stab at it. So yeah, e3 is the second move. You can also start with knight f3. Queen a4 check is not good, because the point here is not just to win the pawn back. You also have to develop your pieces while you're doing it. You don't want to do it with your queen. Yeah, channel demonetized. You don't want to do it with your queen. It's a move. Like, queen a4 check has been played before, even by some GMs, but it's definitely not the most critical. Amon, thank you. Knight f3 is the most popular move. Knight f3, knight f6, and now e3. This is the positional approach. Knight c3 is not that good. And then e6, you might be aware of like this line. And now black has, the main move is c5. And you get this type of position. You very often get IQP structure out of Queen's Gambit decline, Queen's Gambit accepted. Because after CD, ED, you already have an isolated queen pawn structure. Is there a problem with knight c3? Yeah, so people asking about knight c3 here. It is a move. It is definitely a move. I'm not sure off the top of my head why it's like not played more often. I want to say, yeah, but knight f6, I guess you can play knight f3. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to consult like a source on this. I know e5 is a move. Oh, maybe it is e5. Maybe it is e5. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. I don't know. This is like out of my league. It is e5. E5 is a very, very typical idea in these types of positions. You're using the fact that you have an extra pawn to basically use that pawn as a bargaining chip. And if d takes c5 happens, this trade is obviously undesirable for white, because you got to take either with the knight or the king. Both are awkward, and clearly this position is not impressive for white. You also have a weak pawn on e5. By the way, the same concept is applied in the Blackmar-Diemer gambit, after e4, d takes e4, f3, who can tell me, on the basis of what we just discussed, what is a very good and solid move here for black? Yeah, there is a difference, and I'll explain it in a second. Yeah, e5, right? Same concept. Just e5, de, queen d1. You get the king into the center, and you just get a great position. So just file that idea away, like pushing the e or c pawn and using the queen trade as a bargaining chip, like as a tool to discourage your opponent from taking your pawn. And this, in the c3 Sicilian, there is also a line like this. So in the c3 Sicilian, there is a line where black actually takes and goes e5. Now this isn't great, but the point is after de, black just plays queen d1 and knight c6. And I actually lost a game. I know I'm spending a while on this, but I really want to hammer home this point. These types of endgames are very unpleasant. And I did lose a game like this many years ago, and it sort of stuck with me that even up a pawn, these positions are often not worth going for. This is a game from when I was 1700. Yeah, so basically, this isn't anything super impressive or anything. Just want to hammer home the point. So, yeah, so my opponent played this line, and the correct move for white here is actually knight c3. But I didn't know any better, so I was like, oh, free pawn, right? But this is just bad. Like bishop g4, and already I started to regret it. Black gets this huge initiative, castles and bishop b4. And eventually, I mean, my opponent didn't play perfectly, but eventually he won the pawn back. And even this position is very unpleasant because white's king has absolutely no safe square. Intermezzo. And then he won a pawn. And then he won the game. So I used to lose to this guy, Todorcev, old Russian dude, many, many times before I actually beat him. So hopefully that makes sense. Back to the game. So one other subtlety to be aware of. One other subtlety to be aware of is the difference between going knight f3 first and going e3. So the main difference is that e3 allows an extra option, but on the other hand is also more flexible for white. So if black goes knight f6, then after bishop c4, well, okay, I'll put it this way. After knight f3, you give black certain other options like a6, which are eliminated if you play e3. But on the other hand, e3 allows this topical move e5 once again. That's why people most commonly play knight f3 to prevent e5. And this is a line. Like this e3, e5 is a very theoretical line with, you know, chances for both sides. You get this IQP structure, and you can investigate this if you want. But e4 is the line that you play if you really want to play ambitiously. No, I beat Todorcev later when I was like 2000. I actually beat him in a very nice game. No, I mean, Victor's, I think he's still alive. He's probably in his 80s. So e5 is one of the main moves. This is a good move. There are 4 or 5 reputable lines against e4. If you want me to, I can show the game. How did I beat Todorcev? Okay, fine. So I only beat him once. I was already 2000. But it was a very satisfying game because I'd lost to him 3 times by then. So this was all in the Mechanics Institute. Like every game I played against him was in the Mechanics Institute. And this is already 2006. Okay, so this time he goes e5. Oh, he passed away. Oh, recently. Wow. No, he was probably over 90. I hadn't seen him in years. He was such a nice guy, too. So he was kind of like an informal mentor, you know, as I was growing up playing the mechanics. So it was a Rai Lopez. I have a better position. I'll verify though. I'm not sure I trust that information. That's Sag. I don't know if I should be showing my like win. No. Okay, so in this position I found a really nice idea. Bishop b3, d4, and bishop takes f7 check. This was nice. Right, he'd probably want me to show. Because he told me, when he beat me in 1722, he told my dad, like, give him 2 years, he'll be beating the crap out of me. So, and of course I was like, no, I'm not. And the idea is king f7, knight g5 check, king g8. If king g7, there's a fork. King g8, queen b3, and it's over. King moves either way, knight f7 is a fork. So he had to go to the side, and I took the rook, and I win everything. So that's how I finally beat him. Yeah, rip and Sag. He was, yeah. And he played like well into his 80s, which I find to be so impressive. Anyways, back to the game. So after ed bishop g4, the main moves here are knight c6 and bishop b4 check. Bishop b4 check. After bishop g4, it's already almost over. Queen b3, bishop b6, we trade, queen takes e6. Now bishop e7 loses on the spot. Had black played queen e7, though, we have a check on c8. This was my idea. This is a very important check. Queen c8 check. That's it. I mean, it's not it. Queen d8, queen b7, knight d7 saves the rook. But we take another pawn. And come on, we're up 2 pawns. The king has already moved. This is lost. So, yeah, so that's about it. I mean, after knight e5, I guess black can also move the queen away. What do we do? What does white do here? Who can tell me what is the most effective way to convert the advantage here? Routinian, thank you for the raid. Well, I am about to finish, but I still appreciate it. Thank you, David. There's a very pretty line here. So it's queen f7 check, then queen g7. So you're threatening to take the rook, and you're threatening a fork. So black can try queen f6. What should white do now? What's a pretty move that wins the game? Not queen g, yeah, queen h8. H8, knight f7, and we win. So a pretty straightforward game. The rest we don't really have to talk about. Everything else is very simple. That's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Promised myself to go to bed by 2. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Thank you for the support. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. See you guys soon. Later.